All right, all right. Welcome everybody. We got my main man, Big Blue in the Bronx here for a special Heart of the City interview. Got some breaking news to get into, and we are going to talk a little bit here about the New York Yankees. And you know how we do, New York sports oriented. But we'll be right back right after the intro. Y'all stay tuned and hit that like button.
Ricey K, the Raisin Man.
All right. So, Alex, man, what's good with you, man? Welcome to the show. My man, Big Blue in the Bronx. And we got big news out of not the Bronx, but New York, which is, pretty much the Bronx part of New York. But Alex, man, go ahead and introduce yourself, man, and tell them where you're from, what you do, and how you get down.
Well, it's all the good stuff. Big Blue in the Bronx on YouTube. Cover a lot of Giants, cover a lot of Yankees, obviously, with the season coming up, which we'll be talking about. A lot of fun. Obviously, we were at the Senior Bowl the last 2 years, so we have a lot of fun on our channel, a lot of informative stuff. We don't cater to the popular opinion, so can't wait to talk about the Giants. Can't wait to talk about the Yankees and all that good stuff. And thank you to Kenny for allowing me on and giving me a platform.
Yeah, man. Thank you, man, for joining me tonight. We don't rock with them popular opinions. That's why you on Popular Opinion Sports. We caught Alex at the right time because breaking news. As we are recording this, just hit Tuesday evening. Russell Wilson on a 1-year deal to the New York Giants, just fresh off the presses. Man, I'm interested to get some instant reaction, man, because I'm instantly reacting to this myself, as it has just came out. Alex, man, after the Giants signing Jameis Winston reportedly being in the QB market for Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward at number 3. What does this mean? What does this Russell Wilson signing mean for the New York Giants?
Yeah, so I think it means they're definitely, no matter how you shape it, they definitely want to win games in 2025. There's been speculation by fans and several people of a mandate to win football games in 2025 because of the previous 2 years, how badly it's gone for the Dable Shane regime. And I will say, in my honest, humble opinion, this does take them out of a Shedeur Sanders, a Cam Ward at 3. Unless, Cam Ward, if he's at 3, then you jump on that. But I have a feeling that they probably don't like anyone outside Cam Ward in this class, for the first round at least. They tried going after Stafford. They wanted to see what Rodgers was doing. He was taking too long. They signed Jameis. They signed Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has come home. Um, 10, 11-year-old me right now watching all those Seahawks Super Bowls is absolutely ecstatic. But this tells you predominantly, no matter what, no matter how you feel about the quarterbacks or so on and so forth, what your opinion is that they're going to try to win games in 2025. And also, to be honest with you, Kenny, really told you something this offseason, that the Giants thought that they were not far away on offense because a lot of their signings were on defense. They signed Paulson Adebo. They signed Javon Holland. And they had a lot of injuries last year on the defense, no doubt. But they're telling us, essentially, it's not coaching, it's not this, it's not that. Our O-line was at least halfway decent, but the quarterback position was absolute mess. So outside Tommy DeVito, they revitalized that with Jameis Winston. They brought in Russell Wilson on a very cheap contract. But the main message you should get out of this, no matter how you feel, is that they're going to win. That they're going to attempt to be a winning team in 2025.
Yeah, and that's interesting because they were one of the worst teams in the NFL on offense. So for them to think that literally they're a quarterback away from competing is crazy to me. Now, I think it could mean something else too. I think if you are the New York Giants and you don't want to get hosed by Cleveland or Tennessee in a trade, you make sure you have some leverage. Because now you're not thirsty. You're not shopping hungry. You can easily hang up the phone and say, look, we got two decent quarterbacks. We're good. You know, we don't have to give up, 2 1s, 3 1s, or whatever it might be. Whatever crazy price they may be asking. So I think that's another thing. But it could also take them out of the quarterback market, which would be absolutely insane because their whole motto was, let us get our quarterback. So now you're bringing in retreads, literally, to satisfy that mandate of, hey, we need a quarterback. That's what Brian Daboll said. Hey, get me a quarterback. You see what happens when we got good quarterback play out there. Yada, 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 yada. So if you're John Mara, are you going to allow these guys to build for the now and not for the future? What you think, man?
My response to that would be, in the John Mara lenses, is that would you rather have, and this is not me defending it, of course. Mm-hmm. I know what my opinion is, and I'm sure you do as well. Mm-hmm. Is that would you rather have Jameis Winston and a rookie quarterback and win 6 games and not have your stadium sell out as much? Or would you rather have Russell Wilson come in, you not draft a quarterback or draft a 2nd, 3rd, 4th round guy and win 9 to 10 games and potentially be exciting? That was essentially, I think, the message that the Giants have sent us. And I think that's the message that John Mara wanted to send Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll. And it just, again, points back to the fact, I don't know what it is. They don't like these quarterbacks. That's just my personal opinion because, again, they went after Stafford, Rodgers, etc. And I don't want to repeat the same old talking points. Mm-hmm. But essentially, win games, get butts in seats because, I don't know how many times the Giants could tolerate. Well, first of all, they should still draft a quarterback, but I'll leave it at that.
I mean, they should. They should, man. And I just don't understand why they don't like these quarterbacks. I mean, especially like Cam Ward. I mean, he's got, one of the better arms, out there in college football, as far as, playing off script. Shedeur Sanders is pretty much a pro-ready quarterback, in my opinion. And it's just real weird. It's real weird. But again, real quick on the field, what do you think Russell Wilson brings to the New York Giants? I know he had an iffy year in Pittsburgh last year, but I'm assuming he's going to be the starter over Jameis Winston. We'll see. We'll see if they bring in another quarterback. We'll see. But what do you think he adds to the Giants on the field?
I think he adds that, and also in the locker room too. He's not an Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's a quirky personality. I think a lot of the quarterback room is vibes right now because you have DeVito, you have Jameis Winston, you have Russell Wilson with all the memes and stuff. But he prevents he is the best, and you could say this as well, Kenny, that this is the best quarterback the Giants have brought in since Eli Manning. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, that's true.
He brings in, he hasn't really gotten hurt over the last few years, to my recollection. Last year, he had 16 touchdowns with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I would like to think, I would like to really, I would say, magnify on those issues, whatever they were. I don't think, from what I was told by Steeler fans, he wasn't the main issue why they dropped those last few games. That's a typical Mike Tomlin thing. So, and I'm not saying that the Giants offense is light years better than the Steelers offense, or it's, Brian Dable's light years better than Mike Tomlin. But I think there is potential for Russell Wilson to be slightly better than what he was last year. I mean, again, it is a 36-year-old quarterback, but you have a somewhat of a stable O-line for the time being. You still need depth there. Your weapons are pretty much set on offense. And, I mean, I don't know if you want to get into this discussion or whenever, or maybe in a future video. I mean, if you're throwing to Darius Slayton, and I know you're higher on Darius Slayton than I am, Wan'Dale Robinson, Malik Neighbors, and you add a Travis Hunter, depending on what side of the ball he plays, I mean, that's a lot better than what he had in Pittsburgh last year. And, hopefully Theo Johnson comes back healthy, and you have a running game with Tyrone Tracy. So things are starting to look up. But he provides a sense of stability at the quarterback position. And not to say, again, he could get light years better than he was last year, but the talent is still a part of him. Not hoping, like Daniel Jones, sixth year, he can do this. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, and I mean, you're absolutely right. Russell Wilson was one of the quarterbacks that I was in favor of signing, obviously, over Aaron Rodgers. And kudos to you last year for the Jameis Winston asking for Jameis Winston and ended up signing him. I remember when you did say that, man, and I retweeted that because I agreed with you. I always thought Jameis was the better option as a backup quarterback, in this league. Now they got both. So is that enough to compete in the NFC East though? I don't know. Maybe with Dallas. I still think you're behind Philly. I still think you're behind Washington. So we'll see. And the only reason I'm saying that is because, yeah, they did somewhat fix the quarterback problem, but you didn't add anything on offense outside of Darius Slayton and a few of the linemen that you brought back from one of the worst offensive lines in football.
Absolutely. And that's where I'm kind of bothered just a tad bit. And not like Shedeur Sanders is going to make the Giants this ultra competitive team this year if we were to draft him, or if if you don't draft him, or whatever the case scenario may be. But it's just the Giants are very much behind, and you just mentioned it, are very much behind what Washington and Philly are doing. Philly's at the top, Washington is second. They've signed a couple of nice players this offseason. Dallas, I think they're going to be where we're at personally. I don't like their head coach hiring. And I think, Russell Wilson can compete with Dak. I think when you go up against Washington, it's going to have to come from coaching. Because, again, this is a team that actually went to the NFC Championship last year, to a lot of our surprise. And then you have Philly, who just won a Super Bowl. So in my personal opinion, it comes down to coaching. It comes down to really drafting for the future and getting a lot of these key guys coming in. And that's how you have sustained success, because you could get all these different cats. Like, they resigned Van Roten to play right guard. They signed a couple other guys on multiple sides of the ball, but you need to have guys behind those guys. And overall, I just don't want the Giants to lose sight of building for the future. I don't want that to happen because, again, Philly, they're very much still win now. They obviously signed Jalen Hurts that contract. They won a Super Bowl. They signed Saquon Barkley. But, again, Howie Roseman has been one of the best GMs in the NFL when it comes to drafting. The Giants haven't had stable drafts. So it's not like, oh, this player retires and he goes in. No, it's for the Giants. It's this player sucks. We have to sign a free agent. So I just overall don't want them to lose sight of building for the future just because you're bringing a Russell Wilson and just because you're willing to compete.
Yeah, man. And I agree, man, because it seems like that's what they're doing. It seems like that's what they're doing. They're putting out this win now. And we fell for this before. Like you said, with Daniel Jones after the 2022 season. They sold us on this win now. We're ready to compete narrative, and it didn't work out. We know the Giants are not close to a win now team because they're picking third in the NFL draft. So I don't know how the fans can buy into that unless you're just so flaky on picking this quarterback. And it's not like you're going to put yourself in a good position to get one next year if you plan on winning 8-9 games. So, what are you doing?
The only thing I could think of in that sentiment, Kenny, is if the Giants trade back in the first round and then they trade back with a team who's going to be terrible this year, maybe the Jets or somebody, I don't know who that team would be, and they give up their first round next year. But no, I mean, I think what people also have to understand, and you were bringing this up, is that, okay, great, we signed Russell Wilson. I don't see this team getting more than 9 to 10 wins. A lot of it's going to have to be on coaching, but the Giants are mid. If you want to look at what they are mid. They are
very
not
mid. That's being nice.
Talent right now, I mean, they're not terrible. They're not all-star. They're not an Eagles level of talent. But also, you even take it outside of the division for 20 seconds. Guess what? Look at that schedule. That's not an appealing schedule at all. At all. You probably still see about 5 to 7 wins on that schedule. And maybe 2 more or 2 less. I don't know. But I'm just throwing those things out there.
Yeah, nah, you're right, man. And it's one thing, though, before we move on to the Yanks, I've been hearing this possibility of Shedeur Sanders possibly dropping in the draft. Do you think there's any possibility the Giants try to move back up into the first round with their second and their 2/3?
Yeah. I was actually having a convo with a friend about this. And it wasn't even about Shedeur. It was about 2 other players I really like in this draft, Gray Zabel and Walter Nolan. Because when I didn't expect the Giants to have that comp pick added. I thought, because everyone was saying, oh, they're going to get a comp pick from McKinney. They had enough free agents last year where they're going to overvalue that. And they're not going to get a comp pick. But I was wrong. So they get the 3rd round comp pick, which is great for the Giants. And, there's that one scenario, which is probably not going to happen, of them trading up to 1. But, I mean, yeah, you could potentially... I don't think Shedeur is going to fall as much as they say, but I do think the Giants could be in the running if he does fall to trade up. But you have to balance that out in your own head, in scenarios wise and future wise, to play that out against, okay, but what if I trade up for a Walter Nolan, right? A guy to put next to Dexter Lawrence on the long term, who's an absolute monster. What if I trade up for a Gray Zabel and he plays all 5 positions on the offensive line? That's what you're going to have to figure out. I will say this. I mentioned building for the future before. The Giants have to have that Eagles-style mentality and philosophy for this draft. Because if you take a look at a couple of different things right now, the Giants still need defensive line help somewhere, but that defensive lineman may not start on day one. You got Roy Robertson Harris. I'm blanking on some of the other names they signed, but nonetheless,
Chauncey Golston,
Chauncey Golston,
yeah, and then Harrison, and then there was another guy I can't remember, but
I'm blanking. But anyway, they're gonna have to have that Eagles style mentality because again, Van Roten's on a 1-year contract, which means okay, you could still draft a Gray Zabel in the second round. You could still
he's good too.
Yeah, late first or something like that. So you could still draft. You could still take him. Ledbetter is also one of the other guys.
That's who it was. Yeah.
So they have to have that Eagles style mentality of drafting for the future. Like, all those years they had Brandon Graham. They drafted Josh Sweat. They drafted Nolan Smith. They brought in this guy. They brought in that guy. They have to have that mentality. I know this is much more than the QB conversation, but it's still just overall the theme is not losing sight of this thing that we have going on here. And again, the Giants have never really properly rebuilt, and they're not rebuilding now, it seems. So at least build towards the future.
Yeah, man. Most definitely. But gonna be more Giants news to come in future videos. I'm sure Alice gonna be putting out videos. We definitely gonna have videos right here on the Aboriginal Sports Network. But before we get into the Yankees, check out Around the City on Heart of the City, where we get into all the New York City teams, man. Just touch up on a little of each team. So check that out on Heart of the City. Premiering Tuesday nights.
I want the power, but I want the love and respect first. Said I want the power, but I want the love and respect first. Yeah, I want the power. But I want the love and respect first. Yeah, I want the power, the love and respect first.
All right, man. So let's get into, man, a little New York Yankees. If I can get my name right here. So, put this on the screen here. Oh, I don't have it up. That's why. Hold on. So, just talking a little bit about the Yankees, man, if you don't mind, getting into the end of spring training, thinking about some of the injuries that they've had so far to Garrett Cole, the major one, of course, Lewis Gill injured. I mean, this Yankees team, it's tough, man, because it seems like the minute they take a step forward, they kind of take a step back in some sense, man. So talk a little bit, man, as we get ready for spring training about these New York Yankees and what it's looking like, man, for this season, man, because to be honest, Yankee fans, World Series or bust. But it's kind of looking like you might be behind the Mets. You might be behind the Dodgers. I don't know, man. But you tapped in a little more than me, man. Give us the scoop, Alice. What's going on with this team?
Yeah, I'm a pessimist when it comes to the Yankees. Usually I see things objectively. On the injury front, they've dealt with a number of injuries, right? You got 2 starting pitchers for sure who are going to be out a while. Garrett Cole is done for the season. He's an older guy. He's not going to be back till next year. That's for certain. TJ surgery. Luis Gil. Actually, you can name 3. Luis Gil, you just mentioned right there. He's going to be out for a little while. He's on the 60-day injured list. Clark Schmidt is going to start the season on the injured list. So they have Carlos Carrasco, who is a aging veteran at the back end of that rotation. Will Warren at the back end of that rotation, who really didn't do all that well last year. And he had a good start to the spring, but started faltering towards the end. You have Marcus Stroman, the newly signed Max Fried, which came in handy. And Carlos Rodon is going to start opening day. So that's not really great. I do believe a lot of last year was puffed up by Juan Soto. I believe Juan Soto was the best thing to happen to the Yankees under the Aaron Boone, Brian Cashman regime. He chose money, which, to be honest with you and a lot of people, I don't blame him for choosing the money. He went to the Mets, and he's a young cat. He secured a contract. That's his thing. And, let Yankee fans be mad about it, whatever. He was the best thing to happen. Giancarlo Stanton, he's another injury. I love Stanton. I know he gets injured in the regular season, but he showed consistently over the last few years that in the playoffs, he is lights on. Unlike our captain, he is lights on.
Yeah.
So that's a tough break, and we don't know when he's going to be back. As much as they delay this thing, it's only going to get even worse. They brought over Cody Bellinger. I like that move. I wish they would have played him at first base, but it is what it is. They're putting him in the outfield. They brought over Paul Goldschmidt. Not a fan of that. Maybe myself in 2015 or 2017 would have been happy, but he is an aging vet, so I don't have much optimism there. Maybe he'll prove it differently to me. And he's also very good defensively, so that's one thing. You have Jazz Chisholm coming back, who should be playing his natural position. Anthony Volpe, who's coming back. I'm not really a fan of him defensively, but they'll also have to see Jason Dominguez. He's a guy, and I have no issues pretty much with the bullpen. They brought over Devin Williams, great trade there. Jason Dominguez, who a lot of people were saying, oh yeah, he's the Martian, he's this, that, and the other thing, but he's struggled in the outfield consistently, playing at all three positions. I know a lot of people say, well, center field is his natural position, or this position is his natural position. He struggled in all three. So it's going to be a little bit of a tough ride for the Yankees in terms of Dominguez. It is also going to be a tough ride for the Yankees overall this year, dealing with the injuries. I'm not a big fan of Aaron Boone as manager. As you know, I'm not a big fan of Brian Cashman as a general manager to make moves and be creative. And you got teams improving all around you. The Orioles are still going to be a thorn in the side. The Blue Jays are probably not going to be there. The Red Sox made some interesting moves this offseason. They traded for Garrett Crochet, the former Chicago White Sox starting pitcher. So the Yankees, I don't think they're going to be as good as last year. Obviously, they're not going to make the World Series. Maybe the division series is where they finish and they get eliminated. But I don't have too many high hopes for the Yankees. I really don't.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy because the whole Juan Soto thing, though, man. I mean, so he goes to the Mets, and now, you go out, you sign Bellinger or whatever. But I never felt like that was enough. Like, he meant so much to that team last year. You could see it. I mean, you could feel it. You know what I'm saying? Because the Yankees, they didn't really have that energy. Like, Aaron Judge, great player, but he wasn't bringing the energy that Juan Soto was bringing on that team. And now, I don't see how you can replace that at all. And now your pitching staff is hurting. I mean, I've never been high on Carlos Rodon, bro. I'm just going to be honest with you. And him to see him starting opening day, that don't make me feel good at all. So how are you going to compete with some of these other teams? Boston, Baltimore, that's just in the AL. So I'm wondering what they're going to do. Do you think they have enough pitching, though, to compete? Because, I mean, now, what do you do? I'm hearing rumors about trades or whatever, but, what do you do to make up for two huge losses in Garrett Cole to injury and Juan Soto, leaving via free agency?
Well, I will say this. It is lucky that they play in the American League, because if they National League, they would get shredded. Oh. Dodgers are better than them. The Phillies are better than them.
Mets,
I would argue the Braves with coaching, they're better than them. The Mets are better than them. So that's four teams right off of the bat. and the rest of them are just they're kind of floating around. I forget how far the Padres went last year, but they might be might be in that line. I guess the Yankees will have to see what they do by the trade deadline. They've never been sellers. The last time they were sellers was 2016. That was about 9 years ago almost. They're not sellers. And even in 2023, when they should have sold, they got 2 crappy bullpen pitchers. So in that regard, they have to, I guess they'll see the progress throughout the season and make some trades. I think they also don't want to. I really don't think they're going to make any big trades at the deadline. I'm going to be honest. I mean, I could be very well wrong, but they have a couple of guys in the system that they like, and Spencer Jones and George Lombard Jr. that they don't want to give up on. They want to prospect hug a little bit, and they don't want to. I guess their approach is let's wait for Cole next year, and if Stanton is the same diagnosis of out for the year, out for most of the year with Cole, we'll just wait till 2026, which is kind of a shame, but I wouldn't expect anything big from the Yankees, honestly, unless some, real good player becomes available and the Yankees are surprisingly in the hunt. I just don't see it.
Outside of pitching, seems like they got a question at third base. You got Oswaldo and was it Oswald?
Peraza,
Peraza. Who are they? What are they going to do here at third base, man? Who do you think they? How you think they tackle that position?
Yeah, so I don't think they handled it well this offseason. It's pretty obvious. There was a couple of guys in line, as you mentioned, Oswald Peraza, Oswaldo Cabrera. Peraza hasn't been consistent in the big leagues. I don't think he's gotten a fair shot. I think the Yankees have played too much with setting him up and setting him down and all that jazz. Oswaldo Cabrera didn't do too bad last year at the position, but I don't think on any other major league team he'd be someone you would call a starter at third base. He is a platoon player. He plays multiple positions. He could pinch hit. He could pinch run. He could do all that stuff. I mean, he had his best career year in home runs and RBIs. I mean, he had about the same as his rookie year in average. But other than that, I mean, he's not some great third baseman that the Yankees just developed. So you have Peraza, you have Cabrera, DJ LeMahieu's going to start on the injured list again. So
what's new?
Is right. What is new? What is new with that? And that's unfortunate. Aaron Judge had a lot of pull in bringing him back and not DFAing him, unfortunately, because they're buddy. But it is what it is. So Oswaldo Cabrera is probably going to be your third baseman. I don't see the Yankees trading for Arenado. I don't see the Yankees making any big moves there. They probably think, hey, listen, the rest of the lineup will carry. Oswaldo Cabrera was pretty good for us hitting wise and defensively last year.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get into one more question with you before we wrap up the conversation. We always talk a lot about drafting, and in these other sports, especially in the NFL and the NBA. Back in the day when the Yankees were good, they had such a good farm system, Alex. The farm system was, popping. Like I said, I'm not too tapped in. What is the farm system looking like right now? And can they really, are they really building for the future at all?
I think the Yankees have a very much of I would say biased point of view. It's such a lack of a better word, but it's a convoluted way of looking at things for the Yankees. I like George Lombard Jr., but the problem with him is he plays shortstop. Anthony Volpe is the shortstop. I like Lombard Jr.'s chances at being a better player overall than Anthony Volpe, because Volpe is not good defensively. I don't care what anyone says. So you have it blocked right there. Will Warren, he hasn't really amounted to anything. You have Spencer Jones. It's going to be interesting where you put him, because Jason Dominguez is there, Aaron Judge is there, and Cody Bellinger is there. He's an outfielder, so I don't know. Are you going to put him at first base? I would really, really be against that. And they have a few other players in the system. Cam Schlitter looked nice this spring as one of the prospects in the system. But other than that, I mean, it's not what it used to be. Chase Hampton, one of their guys from Double-A, is having Tommy John surgery. But it's not like it used to be. It's very much a beat-down system. Or I wouldn't say beat down, but just not what it used to be. And I don't think the Yankees have done this great job of drafting overall in the last few years. Because you look at some of the guys. I mean, Aaron Judge obviously was a home run with that. But going from position to position, Dominguez is there, okay, but you don't even know if he's a full-time player yet because he's been injured. He's been in the minor leagues. Austin Wells looks nice. I give him that. First base, that's a free agent signing. Second base is a trade. Volpe, I just mentioned. Cabrera at third. I mean, he's a platoon player. That's not even a real third baseman. Right field, Aaron Judge, we just mentioned. Cody Bellinger in center field. Left field is Jason Dominguez. So, but again, as I mentioned, trade or free agency has been the Yankees' most way of winning over the last few years. Juan Soto, that was not something that they, that was a trade where they gave up prospects. So they haven't done a great job of drafting. Where you look at a team like the Atlanta Braves, for example, who've done a great job of drafting. They signed guys to extensions really early. The Yankees, they just haven't had that, and I think a lot of the problem is they keep these guys in the front office who've been there for a number of years, right? I look at the assistant GM's been there since 1998. It's like the Giants problem from a couple of years ago where they had these old scouts. Kevin Reese and Damon Oppenheimer have been there since the mid-2000s. I mean, the game has changed so much, and you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So they haven't been great drafting. And they have a bunch of old timers in the front office. So that's what needs to change. A lot of other different things need to change. But that's like the headed snake.
Yeah, Brian Cashman. Brian Cashman, he been there forever. And now they got Boone, who they refuse to let go. They want to keep him around. A lot of nepotism. Seems to be a theme with these New York teams. I don't know, man. But definitely appreciate you joining me today, man. I know you got to run real quick, Alex, man. But definitely appreciate this, man. This was dope. Got to do this more often, man. Give you a little, a little sidebar. I might call this on the block or something like that. Where we tap into New York City content creators, man. But you definitely a star out there, man. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, Kenny. And everyone who hasn't hit the subscribe button or like button or any of that stuff, you do that right now.
Right now. You heard the man. But until next time, man, we're gonna get out of here, man. Like, y'all hit that like button, subscribe button, like Alex said. Catch Heart of the City Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Definitely appreciate y'all, man. And until next time, we out of here. Peace.
the Raisin Man.
Or just the Giants organization that really put Daniel Jones in the forefront and carried him in that type of light, man, on national TV.
$223. The suspension also opens the door for the Texans to release Al-Shahir.
Then in 1976, guess who was hired? A T-Spans. This is where preference plays the biggest.
I'm gonna have to knock this down and get the oohs and ahs of Houston.
Welcome to the Aboriginal Sports Network.